Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, a podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz. Welcome to our arts and entertainment podcast.
This episode is brought to you by people like you and Juicy Juice. You know, we say at the top of the episode, this is where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. But when we describe this podcast to people outside of in the episode, we often say we're watching everything that Jim Henson and the Muppets have ever done in chronological order. And this week, it's all about the Jim Henson side of that. No,
big time.
No Muppets to be found this week, because this week we are discussing the first two episodes of the 1985 six-part series, Jim Henson Presents The World of Puppetry. And those are the episodes focused on puppeteers Philipe Genty and Henk Boerwinkle. It's worth noting that Ans Boerwinkle is also a big part of that second episode, even though she doesn't get named in the episode title.
Well, yeah, when the episode starts, Jim does say Henk and Ans Boerwinkle. So that's nice. But yeah, she doesn't have her name in the Shout TV link that we watched or anything like that.
Right, and on Muppet Wiki and everywhere I've seen, it's as if this episode is just about Henk. And we don't have exact air dates for these episodes. I'm guessing they aired at different times throughout the year, depending on where you lived, because as we'll get into a bit, they were produced with a bunch of different TV companies in partnership with Henson. But they were recorded in 1984 and released into the world in 1985. So we're going to be watching them sort of spread throughout our conversations about 1985, just to break it up a little bit when we're talking about other things. And I guess the only other release date information worth noting is that Films Incorporated released these on VHS for educational outlets in 1988. So I'm guessing a lot of people who maybe have memories of these or have seen some of them maybe saw them in school. I mean, I hope not, some of these. But maybe saw these in school or somewhere after 1988 when they were released on VHS.
You know, when you're in art class and they wheel out the AV cart, you can see a boob every now and then. Artists get to see boobs, okay?
And, you know, whether those are puppet boobs that are like crudely stitched together or stuck through a hole in a box, know, you don't know what you're ready for. And then all of a sudden Henk Boerwinkle comes along and is like, hey, you want to see this?
And you go, oh, that's what boobs are. Okay. So someday my legs will fall off and there will be boobs underneath. Interesting.
Yeah. That's what you learn in sex ed.
They show you that skit. It's 45 seconds long, and then the coach of the football team says, got it?
Yeah, your bodies are changing, folks. You have questions? Direct them to Henk Boerwinkle. Well, before we get into that, Sam, we're recording just slightly earlier in the morning this week, and it got me thinking, what do you eat for breakfast?
Oh, so okay. Usually I eat a bowl of granola and yogurt with raspberries on it. And it's my little morning tradition not every day, but a lot of days. I'll wake up and then I'll make my bowl and then I'll give my cat a little dollop of the yogurt. Ooh. I know you're not supposed to. Don't write me any letters about it. But she's like 14 years old. She's allowed to eat some yogurt. And I call it Yogurt Club. Me and Lilo have a Yogurt Club.
Rachel's not invited to Yogurt Club?
Well, I won't tell you how late Rachel sleeps in most days. I get a pretty good chunk of the morning to myself.
She sleeps through Yogurt Club.
She's invited, of course, to Yogurt Club.
Open invitation for Yogurt Club, but you have to show up to the meeting on time.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah. If you're eating yogurt by yourself later in the day, that's not Yogurt Club. You have to have at least one human and one cat present. How about you? Muesli. Do you eat muesli for breakfast?
I don't even know what muesli is. You said that word like I should know.
So some kind of Australian shredded wheat. Oh, it's Swiss. Excuse me. Sorry. I'm so sorry. It's Swiss. Maybe I was thinking of the slime. The slime that they eat.
Marmite?
Vegemite.
Oh, Vegemite.
Yeah.
Looking at
Muesli.
Swiss muesli.
Oh, it's like overnight oats.
Yeah, it just looks like a healthy sort of cereal. I mean, I eat like the less healthy version of this maybe. Like, I'll eat some oatmeal. Okay. I'll have some, Count Chocula style cereals. Occasionally I'll dip into that section of the cereal aisle that's like, yeah, I guess I am 36 and should eat these now.
Even though those are probably really not that much better for you.
Oh, no. Still tons of sugar and stuff, I'm sure. But they look like kids aren't allowed over here. Like, there should be a beaded curtain separating those cereals from the rest. And it's like
kind of a tan and yellow box.
There's no cartoon characters on it.
Absolutely.
There's like maybe a flower in the sun. And they're like, hey, you like nature and just being alive? Eat this.
Sometimes there's a koala on the box.
Yeah, because koala is a respectable animal.
Cartoon. That's true. A real guy. We don't go for these fantasy creatures.
Oh, you want a tiger in a handkerchief? Yeah, no, thank you. Give me a boring-ass photorealistic koala bear.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think that, weekend treat or sometimes a weekday treat of frying up some eggs and toast and sausage or bacon or something. I enjoy those mornings. And for some reason, I don't do it often enough, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't barely ever do it except the weekend. And I was thinking to myself, it's because when you're frying up an egg and eating like toast and stuff you like, then you're like, today's going to be a great day. And that's usually just for the weekends, in my opinion. I'm not waking up for work and being like, a carpe diem, let's go. But then on Saturday, I'm like, fuck yeah. I want to wake up and cook some eggs.
See, I feel like I often do it on weekdays to balance out that feeling of like, oh, I got to work today. So how do I find my morning joy?
That's a nice way to think about it.
Before having to go do the work that, we do enjoy our jobs.
It's fine.
But sometimes you don't want to go to work. That's just the nature of work. And sometimes if I, give myself a nice, slow morning breakfast preparation, it feels good by the time work comes along.
That's nice. That's really nice. That's like, who's the Twin Peaks guy? You ever watch Twin Peaks?
I've dabbled.
Agent Dale Cooper. There's like a whole scene where he's like, every day you got to give yourself a present. It doesn't matter what it could be. A cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. It could be something that you just have wanted, but you got to give yourself one present. And that's what you do.
It is.
I just wake up and go, fuck.
I mean, to be fair, that's more mornings than not. I am also in the fuck camp. So,
what do you all out there eat for breakfast? Write us an email about it.
Yeah, are you a member of the yogurt club? Let us know. Remember, you have to have one cat.
Yeah, don't be in the yogurt club without one cat. Maybe a dog counts. Or any mammal. Don't feed yogurt to a turtle. I don't think that's okay.
You don't know.
I mean, it just seems unseemly to have a reptile eating mammal milk. Doesn't that seem weird? I guess we eat bird meat, so who am I to talk?
And people eat turtle.
That's true. Shredder from the Ninja Turtles, for one.
I mean, there's like
among other real people.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about how gruesome that would be? If he cooked the turtles, I think he'd feel too bad to go through with it. I think it's an empty threat he just makes sometimes.
I think he would flip them upside down and turn them into a soup bowl.
A big bowl. I mean, that's of course what he would imagine doing. But when it came time, he had the turtles in his clutches. He's looking at their faces. He's seeing that they are sentient, human, different personalities, everything.
He just thought like, oh shit, I thought they were regular turtles. This is weirder now.
Yeah, I've never had a conversation with you guys.
It'd be like
you
if
can
you
talk this whole time.
You like went to the beef ranch and was like, "Oh yeah, I'd like to pick out a cow to make my steak." And they're like, "All right, would you like Bob or Daryl or Terry?" And you walk up and it's like, "Hey, I'm Bob. Are you gonna eat me?" And they're like, "Oh shit, sorry, I didn't know cows could talk."
Yeah. It's like, some people consider me the party dude of the herd.
Yeah, I eat pizza, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's just me, Terry.
To be fair, I probably taste delicious, but I'd rather not have you eat me. Hey, there's an important thing happening.
Is there?
There's a fuck, marry, kill Twitter tweet going around.
Oh, God.
Did you see that?
I did, and I think I saw you retweet this at like, 1 in the morning or something?
Hey, you know what? I've been having trouble sleeping lately.
So you got to get up and you got to fuck, marry, kill some Muppets.
Yeah, I'm going to get that like tattooed on my bicep. Every morning I get up and fuck, marry, kill some puppets. So it's between Gonzo, Fozzie, and Kermit. I'm seeing a lot of uneducated takes in the in the replies of people being like, Kermit's love language is, this is calling out a very specific person. Kermit's love language is making people happy. Kermit doesn't care about an individual person. Kermit cares about the abstract whole, but he cannot focus in on one person and be kind to them. I think we've seen that a million times, right?
That is the best read on Kermit I think I've ever heard. That because he does say at the beginning of the Muppet movie that he like wants to make people happy.
Yeah.
But I think the way you just described that of like, yeah, he wants to make people happy, but at the expense of individuals at times.
Exactly. He doesn't care who he stomps on to get there. Gonzo, I think, would just be too annoying and he'd trash your house every day, which is fine.
At the same time, in the longest committed relationship of maybe any Muppet.
You're right. You're right about that. I have... Okay, so I chose to kill Kermit. I think that is a given. I think everyone should kill Kermit. He'd be a horrible spouse.
Well, I think it's partially because Kermit is maybe the most human-like of the three. And so you don't need two Kermits in a relationship.
That's true. I am thinking about that Kermit has talked the most about having sex of any Muppet, probably. And has had other people be like human women have been like, oh yeah, me and Kermit got together, right? I guess Miss Piggy and Kermit are pretty tied for the amount of implied human sex they've had, right? And he's so like flirty.
Yeah, they do flirt the most with humans. I mean, we've seen Fozzie with Raquel Welch get invited up to her dressing room. We've seen Gonzo a few times flirt with humans. So
Gonzo alludes to sex with other Muppets a lot, but and I guess he's got, I mean, I don't think Gonzo ever actually gets it. I think Kermit does.
Okay.
So Kermit could be more, I might be changing my answer. I might kill Gonzo.
Wow. I mean,
I just gotta know what Kermit's like as a lover.
Gonzo might be the least likely to be interested in having sex with you because you're not a bird.
A bird. Or some kind of other weird
or a cow.
Creature. Yeah.
So
I'm not a barnyard animal.
You're not
That's
a barnyard
true.
animal, which seems to be his forte.
He wouldn't really take true joy in it. Interesting. Well, I think regardless, I haven't changed my answer about who I would marry, which is Fozzie.
Yeah.
Yeah. After seeing him on the ABC show in such a cute relationship, I think he'd just be nice. He'd need a little help, but everybody does. Like, you got to have some serious conversations with Fozzie. But
yeah, he's like the Jim Belushi sitcom dad in this relationship.
Exactly. Yes. And could you imagine snuggling up into all that? Fuzz, he'd be so comfy every night.
I mean, Kermit's not a good cuddler.
Oh, Kermit's maybe slimy. I'm not really sure what we're supposed to think Kermit is like. Cold. And I bet Gonzo has very bony elbows and knees.
But those limbs do stretch.
Maybe he doesn't have any bones at all. That's true.
I just can't in good conscience say I would fuck Kermit. That's not a sentence I can say and believe.
The more I think about it, the more sold I am on the idea. But I respect you.
That's all it took.
It does seem less weird to say, oh yeah, I'd fuck Gonzo.
Well, that feels
I think a lot of people would be like, yeah, me too, I guess.
That feels like a friend's hanging out deciding, hey, wouldn't it be weird if we made out?
Exactly.
Then just took it to the next level. Whereas like Kermit,
Gonzo might say that every time he hangs out with anybody.
But yeah, I think I got to kill Kermit.
But you'd marry Fozzie too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he seems great. A lot of people are like, I'd kill Fozzie. No, you wouldn't. You couldn't go through with it. You don't have that guts.
He's also maybe the strongest of the three, so it might be the hardest to kill.
That's true.
He is a bear.
Yeah.
You're getting it revenanted.
I feel like we've talked about that before, making a revenant
Fozzie
supercut
tearing
where
you to
Fozzie's
pieces.
the one killing him. I feel like we've talked about that before. I wish we could do it somehow, but I think you need to know how to 3D animate.
That would have to be a 3D animated thing. I don't think you can just like Photoshop a 2D image on top of the Revenant Bear and make it good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just go away. I'll learn Blender. I'll come back and we'll have a scene of Fozzie eating Leonardo DiCaprio. Is that what happens in that movie?
Yeah. Well, so We're really going off.
Meh.
When that movie came out, people were like, did they have sex? Remember that?
That's why I kind of asked, because as we're discussing this, I'm like, wait a minute, am I misremembering what happens in that movie?
No, I don't think that they do, obviously, but I do think it is framed. I need to rewatch that movie, but I think there is a purposeful undercurrent of like, this is some kind of violence being revisited upon him in a sensual way that has a deeper meaning. Right. Because I think he's kind of like, you know?
Gross.
And the bear's not doing that at all. But I think at the end he's kind of like, looks like he just had sex with a bear.
Yikes.
But no, he just gets chomped up real bad.
Well, that seems like a great transition point, Sam, for us to talk about
this was supposed to be our classy episode.
Well, yeah, but we ruined that by being here. We're not classy gents. You're the one who introduced Fuck, Marry, Kill.
I had to. It's a big moment right now.
But we're gonna put our ties on, put down a tablecloth on the dining table today. We're gonna put out some candles because it is a classy time for us to talk about what we watched this week, Sam.
Wrong one. That's the Muppet of the Week one. You know that they all sound like the thing that they are. The one that's like, it's the Muppet of the Week.
I think that's in your head. I don't think they actually sound like that.
Well, we'll let the viewers decide. This week we watched 2 episodes of Jim Henson Presents The World of Puppetry, a straightforward title for a straightforward show in which Jim travels the world, introducing us to and interviewing renowned puppeteers while also showing us their puppet acts. These were aired originally in 1985, but I'm not really sure how or where. They scream PBS. I got to imagine PBS, but I bet Matt knows. Do you?
No, I actually don't know where they aired in the U.S. It does scream PBS.
Yeah, made available to all PBS affiliates, I'd imagine. The first episode focuses on Philipe Genty. Is that how you say his name?
Yep.
Hell yeah. A French puppeteer who performs what I would call a very droll, hyper-French version of the Muppets, performed mostly in bunraku, so that means basically against a black background by performers wearing all black. We got naked guys flying around with their penises out, alien-like blobs eating each other, transforming and dying, ostriches dancing ballet and laying eggs, their underwears fall down at one point, clown marionettes doing nightmarish things, and also I think we see a boa and an old-time camera have sex with each other. We learn a tiny bit about Philippe, including that he was a regular French Bart Simpson as a boy, getting kicked out of at least, according to him, 18 boarding schools, sometimes for his devilish puppet-related prankery. The second episode is about Henk and Ans Boerwinkle, a married couple out of Holland who make the most nightmarish puppets you've ever seen, in a good way. Their performances seem to revolve mostly around short skits, focused on a single sight gag, like some cute little guys do tug of war, a guy eats breakfast, an old witch lady turns into a dog to bark at a cat, a sad troll is sad, 3 guys in a boat die, a lady running on a treadmill gets her head cut off by a guillotine. Standard stuff like that. The duo work both marionette and hand puppet simultaneously, which brings some cool moments like a little Punchinello man pulling his controls away from Henk and walking away. We learn that Henk loves creepy stuff and death, which is not surprising at all, and we learn absolutely nothing about Ans, who sits there waiting for questions from Jim, which never come.
Elsewhere in the Muppet world, because this didn't really air at a specific time. But next time we'll be talking about July of 1985. So I didn't want to skip over June of 1985 in our discussions. So we're just going to pretend that these 2 episodes aired in June of 1985 for right now. And I'm going to let you know what happened with Jim in June. Because on June 3rd, he writes, Shooting Labyrinth, David Bowie shoots. June 19th through 25th, filming Labyrinth, Ballroom. June 26th, filming Labyrinth, Escher. And then June 29th, to New York for Muppet Monster Shoot. End of June, by Falcon.
I have to imagine a sculpture of a falcon.
Yeah, it's the falcon I think we actually talked about last time when we were looking at the picture of his snake lamp that he bought.
The evil Maltese falcon to go in his supervillain lair.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
But yeah, mostly he's shooting Labyrinth and then going to shoot some pieces for Little Muppet Monsters. For those that don't know, Little Muppet Monsters is a show that they decided to add to Saturday mornings because Muppet Babies was so successful. And they were like, well, let's take over Saturday mornings. Let's give them another half hour of Muppets. And so they wrote 13 episodes of Little Muppet Monsters. But not all the elements for each episode were produced because the first episode premiered on CBS on September 14th, 1985, right alongside Muppet Babies. And, after just one more week, the show was canceled.
Why?
We'll find out soon.
Have you seen it before?
I've seen small clips here and there, but we will find out quite soon, Sam, whether or not this show deserved to be canned after 2 episodes. And so after that, CBS decided to air back-to-back Muppet Babies episodes instead in the time slot for the rest of the season.
Huh.
And Jim's Red Book also notes, around the same time, Jim purchased an ancient falcon statue.
Ancient?
Yeah, who knows how old that thing is. Might be
It
cursed.
says ancient somewhere?
It does say ancient on Jim's Red Book.
Oh, Jim. That's weird. Really weird. I feel like most of the other stuff he bought was like custom made for him.
It does,
so
yeah.
It surprises me.
Maybe it's just like
that he would have
called to him.
seen-
Like he walked in and it was like, Jim.
I can give you power beyond your wildest imagination. Be like, I already got it,
Got it.
but I'll buy you
You
anyway.
look cool.
Oh, okay.
But getting into what we watched today, this all sort of, the ball got rolling on this in 1983 because Jim began discussions with his team where he wanted to do a television series highlighting 6 performers in their native countries. And the plan was doing these as co-productions, like they do with Fraggle Rock, with a local television station. So 5 of the documentaries were co-productions with local television stations. The only one that wasn't was with Bruce Schwartz, because he's American.
American guy. Jim's already got he's already got what he needs.
So out of that idea, we get what is described as Jim Henson invites you into his world of puppetry. Travel the globe to meet some of the very finest puppeteers on the planet. But I guess my first question to you, Sam, is how you felt about these and how you feel about so far, this as a concept for a show.
I think it's a great concept for a show. I really wish that they had spent more time with them in their workshops and seeing them rehearse and seeing like the methods that they're using and like the behind the scenes stuff. Because like it's cool that they're exposing the world to these shows that you wouldn't get to see otherwise, like the actual acts. But I don't know. It just was like a little the Henk Boerwinkle one I liked way better than the other one, but than the Philipe Genty one. But yeah, I just wish I'd gotten to know these people a little bit better.
Yeah, I was surprised we didn't get as much nerdy Jim as I was expecting. I thought we were going to get...
I'm sure there's hours of it on the cutting room floor.
Oh, yeah. They were like, no one wants to watch this. Jim, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They didn't know we were going to be podcasting about it 40 years later, and that's all we wanted.
And we really need it because it's hilarious when he does that.
But I think it is interesting to share these things with the world. Specifically, I had the realization that, so far at least, these are puppeteers who puppeteer on stage, live, in front of an audience. And Jim is giving them the Muppet treatment, where the TV screen becomes the puppet stage, which is his whole thing that when he was younger, he realized he could use because almost all puppeteering was done on a stage behind a box or something like that. And he was like, oh, well, if the TV screen can be the box, you can hide the puppeteer out of frame. And so obviously they've got their own ways of hiding themselves, whether it be like black curtains or under a thing. But it's interesting to see these things shot like a Muppet show.
Right.
Which sometimes I think made them even more impressive to me and was like, not to degrade the Muppet Show performers, but I'm like, oh, puppetry can be really good.
That's a good point. There was a bunch of times on both of them where they were doing like sleight of hand stuff that were like that things that the Muppet Show would do in camera tricks, like cuts and stuff like that.
Right.
That they just did on stage. That was amazing.
Because they don't have the option normally.
Yeah. Some of it didn't hold my attention super well, but then when you think about the technical stuff, it's like, they just had to do all this and people were watching the whole time. Like it would be more impactful maybe in person, but yeah, it did. I had the same thought. I think stuff like Dark Crystal gets a little closer to the, oh wow, this is super impressive in the similar way to these European puppeteers. But yeah, there's times I think in the Muppet Show episodes when we're like, yeah, they should have just found a way to make that puppet turn into an old man. Like, that's one that still stands out to me. Like, they could have figured out a way to do that.
Well, and I think it's different skill sets because we talk about Fraggle Rock all the time about how we don't notice the puppetry on Fraggle Rock, and that's a sign of how good it is that we don't think about them being puppets most of the time.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, you're forced to think about them being puppets, but then they go beyond that and they're like, yeah, but we're so good at this that you don't care, and we're going to draw your attention to the fact that this is a puppet, but you're still going to think it's alive.
Yeah. Or it's going to do something that you're like, what?
Yeah.
Basically like a magic show, especially the Henk Boerwinkle one, I think.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's you said you like the Henk Boerwinkle one more because of they get a little bit more into the details of things. I think I liked Philipe Genty's puppetry, not his puppetry necessarily, but like his show more, his acts. But I like the Henk Boerwinkle episode more because of those details and finding out a bit more of why he does what he does or what goes into making it happen. Whereas, like you said, Philipe Genty, we pretty much get like that he was the French Bart Simpson, pranking teachers with his puppets, and that's all we really learn about backstory for him.
Apologies to him, but I do not believe that story. There's something about it that doesn't add up.
It's so specific.
No, it's too specific. That's part of a...
Oh.
I've told a lie or two in my life. That's one of the things you can't do. You can't get so specific because then people... I'm not a frequent liar, but when I was in high school, I had a lot of fibbing to do. You can't get so specific that people are going to start thinking about it too hard. And the part that made me think about it too hard, two things. One.
So wait, should we tell the story?
Oh,
because people probably aren't going to watch these things. The majority of people who are listening to this podcast probably have not watched these documentaries.
Please tell the story.
Philipe Genty tells the story of Jim asks, how'd you get into puppetry? And he's like, I used to make little fun puppets all the time. One time, I even made a puppet that would fit behind the blackboard in school. And it was attached to a string that led back to my desk. And at times, I would pull the string and it would pop up from behind the blackboard, and all the kids would laugh, and the teacher didn't know what was happening because I would release the string and it would drop back behind the blackboard. So the teacher would turn around and it would be gone, and they wouldn't know what was funny. But one day, the string got stuck, and the teacher turned around, they saw the puppet, they followed the string back to my desk, and I got in trouble.
He said he got expelled. So there's actually three things that made me not believe the story. Number one, he says, and you omitted this part, that he was even invited into another class to do this routine.
Ooh, I think I missed that part.
There's no way. Because the teacher be like, oh, we have a visiting student today. And who would have organized to be like, oh, it's like a child talent scout or something? It would be like, Philippe, we got it. You'd kill in third period history.
You are expelled still, but please go show other people the cool thing you did.
Yeah. Okay, so then the second thing was that he said the string got stuck, and then that's when the teacher followed it back to his desk. Where's the string? Where's the string? How is he stringing it up? I got to know that before I know.
I did picture it running straight through the middle of the classroom.
Yeah, I'm sure that can't be what it is, but if you think about it, it's like, well, where was the string otherwise? Why did it getting stuck make the teacher be like, oh, weird string on the floor?
Oh no, I see. Like it got stuck, and so the teacher saw the puppet for the first time and went, wait a minute, how'd this get here? What's going on? And then investigated, saw there was a string from it, followed the string back, and was like, oh, Genty.
You're gonna see a string. You're going to see
fishing line, Sam.
A room you're in every day. Okay, Matt. Okay. Fishing line might work on TV, but then the third thing is that he got expelled for that. I guess if he did a lot of other bad stuff, maybe he could have got expelled for that.
He doesn't mention the part where he's like, yeah, and I punched a bunch of kids on the way out of the classroom.
Yeah, I burned down the lunchroom or whatever. Also, this silly puppet I did. Fun. It's a fun story, Matt, but... if I haven't got my investigative reporter hat on, I got to go to this French boarding school and get to the bottom of this story.
I think it's one of those things that a version of this happened.
I believe that.
And I think he is, at this point, probably in his 40s or 50s, and he's trying to tell this story that happened 30 years ago. and he's maybe not getting all the details right. I'm sure we all do this. We tell a story from high school, and if somebody else from our high school was sitting next to us, they'd go, "That's not how that happened."
You did it one time.
You weren't nearly that cool.
Immediately. Nobody invited you into another classroom.
Yeah, no one was like, "Oh yeah, the badass puppet guy." Well, I wanted to mention that the Philipe Genty episode was filmed mostly, I think, in Paris, and was a co-production between Henson and Associates and FR3, which was a TV station in France. And then the Henk and Ans Boerwinkle episode was produced between Henson and Associates and KRO Television in Holland. That one we have a little bit more information about because Jim wrote about it in his journal, that he was in Meppel, Holland, recording it on May 14th through the 17th in 1984. And he mentioned that he took his son John Henson with him on that trip.
I could see him and Henk being buds in a way that I don't necessarily get the same vibe with Philippe. Him and Henk seem like they have hung out before. Well, and I know that he's been around before. We've seen this guy.
Yes, he was in the Here Come the Puppets documentary we watched from the Washington, D.C. Puppet Festival from like 1980, I believe it was.
We saw the guy climbing up the string and then dying.
And we saw the old witch puppet. And I think we maybe saw one of his creepy masks at one point. But he's definitely been around in the other some of the other things. So I didn't realize that, like, I didn't connect the name until I saw the old witch puppet, and I was like, wait a minute, I know this guy. It's also worth noting that Philipe Genty and Henk Boerwinkle, they're both kind of still at it.
Henk Boerwinkle's still alive too?
Yeah.
Cool.
Again, some of this information, the most recent things I could find was like as of 5, 6, 10 years ago. There's not a lot about these guys out there on the internet right now. But Philipe Genty is in his 80s now. And from something that I read that was written a few years ago, it seemed like he was still at least helping produce like a theater troupe that involved some puppetry. The last performance video thing I could find was like 8 to 9 years ago, I think. So I don't know if, as of today, you could still go to Paris and see Philipe Genty doing it. But still was not that long ago. And then the story behind Henk and Ans Boerwinkle, in 91, not too long after this, Ans stopped performing. And then Henk Boerwinkle stopped touring in 1995 after 2,700 performances.
Whoa.
Yeah, and he went on to make a little theater like place for people to do performances. And then since 1998, his son has continued doing some of the shows that Henk and Ans would do. And apparently, Henk is still building puppets for his son's performances. Again, some of this is several years old that I found these stories, but there is a video from 2013 on YouTube where there was like a puppet troupe who invited Henk Boerwinkle to like celebrate him. And he did another performance of the brain unwrapping the head, poking it with a stick guy that we see in this. So yeah, it's interesting to go back and see that, 30 years later, he was still doing that weird ass puppetry.
If you're a weirdo puppet guy, it's probably hard to be anything else.
I did have that thought of like, how successful are these people in their country? Like, obviously they're successful enough that Jim learned about them. But like how, I guess I can watch these and go, this is pretty cool, because I've been watching a lot of puppetry through the years of doing this podcast. But I don't know if in France people are like, oh, Philipe Genty, I love him. Or if they're like, oh, that weird puppet guy. So if you live in Holland or France and you have any memory of these people from your childhood, let us know how these guys came across. Were they the Jim Hensons of their countries, or were they weirdo puppet guys?
I think from a completely uneducated standpoint, I think it's easier to be a weirdo artist, and way easier in other countries than it is here. Because I think they have way more like governmental money that they spend on the arts, which I think also makes people more open-minded in a way of going to like a puppet show and respecting like the history of that.
They also didn't have Netflix back in the 80s, so sometimes you got to go to a weird attic to watch a puppet show.
I mean, there were kids in the audience of the Philipe Genty one, which was a little bit like French kids are doing it a little different than American kids.
Yeah, it was interesting, the ones when you do hear children laughing at things, and then the ones where you don't hear kids laughing. And I'm like, did they like shuffle them out for some of the more adult-themed shows? Or did they just like let them hang out and the kids didn't get that one, so they weren't verbally enjoying it?
Yeah, I think they must have shuffled them out, because I think that there were things like when the blob's going around farting. I feel like a kid would be like, this is great.
Yeah. But yeah, this, one of the, for me, most memorable things about these episodes is the fantastic 80s theme song that we get at the start of these episodes.
And the graphics, too.
Mm-hmm. This is the most 80s feeling thing I think we've seen Jim Henson do so far, where it's like, I could totally see this being a VHS a teacher puts into the classroom in the early 90s, and you're like, oh, okay, we're in for something here.
Hey, it's the Muppets guy. What?
Hi, I'm Jim Henson.
Doing?
I'm about to show you some puppets that are French, witty, and whimsical.
Okay, great. I guess I'll be napping through this class. Yeah. I think Jim looks so fucking cool in these episodes too. He's like in the intros, he's like really leaning back in that chair, like
he's full on sweater Jim. He's the sweater Jim that we know from, unfortunately, like the end of his life, seeing him on things like Arsenio Hall, or any other appearances he tends to make in the last few years of his life, is giant sweaters with garish patterns on them. He looks very cozy.
He used to be, in the 70s, he was a bit foppish, and he had a lot of like paisley and stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're right. At this point, he has transitioned into cozy Jim, where he's sitting in a big chair, and he looks so comfy, and also cool at the same time.
What was your favorite, either puppet or performance, out of both of these episodes?
In the whole thing? Yeah. It's hard to say, because the Henk Boerwinkle ones, I really loved. So the Henk Boerwinkle ones, I think I liked so much because they reminded me of like Charles Addams cartoons. I really liked like the Addams Family guy, which, for those who don't know, the Addams Family started out as New Yorker, single panel New Yorker cartoons, and then eventually became the TV show. But I loved how like quick they were, and they were just based on like one joke, and then he'd be like, all right, here's the next set of puppets I built. And I like that he was talking about how his interest is in balancing the process between building things and performing things. I thought that just kind of resonated with me for some reason. So it just seemed like he loved building lots of little weird things for like a one-off joke. Mm. My favorite thing, though, I really liked the one where the marionette pulls the controls out of Hank's hand and then slumps to the floor.
Yeah.
And then because he is both a marionette and a hand puppet, stands up, picks up his thing, and walks off the stage. I think that was the one where if I saw that in real life, I'd be like, that was fucking cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I put in my notes, and he wakes up? Like, because we see two versions of this thing where we see the marionette puppet, which is the one we saw before in Here Comes the Puppets, where he starts climbing the string as he realizes he's a marionette, and he's looking up at the puppeteer, and they get up and like they sort of touch hands, and there's like this poetic moment. And that one's good. But the second one we see is the same kind of marionette, realize he's a marionette, and starts yanking the strings away from the puppeteer. And eventually he does tug the strings, and the little, I don't know what those things are called, the wood like cross thing,
the cross
that controls marionettes, that everyone knows what I'm talking about. But he pulls that thing and the strings out of the hands of the puppeteer, and he slumps over, presumably dead because no one's controlling him. And then we see the hands of the puppeteer slump over, dead, as if that was his only reason for living. And then after the puppeteer goes away, the marionette stands back up, using that cross thing as a crutch, and like hobbles away.
And because we've seen other versions of it, even in the Philipe Genty one, we see a really disturbing clown marionette pluck his strings one by one and slowly just like die and then crumple to the floor. Because we've seen two versions of the marionette dying, I think the one living was just like, fuck yeah, good job, marionette.
Well,
and that made me really like that
one.
Well,
and Jim even calls out that he has an arrogant, like the puppet has an arrogance to him as he like huffs off. He's like, got him.
It's like a god is dead kind of thing, you know? The other one I really loved was that one where the little thief has the like bag and the big monster comes out and he's like, brr, brr. That one looked so cool, I thought.
The second half of the Henk and Ans Boerwinkle episode is focused more on masks and how they use those in their puppetry. And we saw that in Here Come the Puppets as well. They're the ones that use the two big masks that meld together into one face and then detach and become two faces. That probably didn't make a lot of sense to people who were just listening. But they incorporate essentially costumes. I think what was interesting for me is like looking at so many of these things and going, oh, the Muppet version of this is that. Like, think of Sweetums and Robin. Like, Sweetums and Robin is all about full body costume, big monster man with little tiny hand puppet. And this is essentially that kind of thing where we have a little man with a bag over his shoulder walking around, and then he gets attacked by a giant who is a person in a creepy-ass mask. And something about this, though, the size difference, the way they sell it is just, I won't say convincing, because obviously I wasn't like, oh, it's a tiny man. Yeah. But there was something about the scale that just worked really well, that you buy into it.
What was your favorite one?
Ooh, I mean, I think the marionette pulling down the, what I learned is called a marionette controller. So there's not like a fun word for that thing.
Think of a name for your thing, guys. Come on.
Yeah, I was hoping there was a fun name, but apparently marionette controller is what the wooden cross thing is called.
This has been around since prehistory, I think. So maybe you need to think of a name for it. Which of the Philipe Genty ones did you like?
I liked, I mean, the sad clown marionette is something about it. I'm like, that's a guy in a costume. Like, he's moving
that's true.
So convincingly, and the way he looks up at Philippe and the way he looks at like his strings and everything, it's so convincing that there's like a human in that, or like there's like a soul.
It looks almost like a older toddler in a costume or something.
Yeah,
just like selling that like sad confusion so well.
Well, and there's something about like we don't see marionettes very often in our Muppet watching. Like when we do, it's usually like Emmett Otter, where they're just like, well, how do we show otters walking across ice? I guess marionettes. And when we do, it also hasn't been the best puppetry we've seen, because it's usually just like little wiggly legs.
They're a little bit like what? Yeah. Which I like. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
I kind of miss them doing more marionette stuff.
But because of that, throughout this, like marionettes don't hide that they're puppets, like a lot of the puppets we normally watch. But I think what both of these puppeteers do well is that knowing the secret doesn't detract from the work. Like, we can see all the strings in that Perrault Sad Clown one, and it doesn't matter. If anything, it adds to it in that one specifically. But I'm thinking of, like, the Boerwinkle one with the guys in the boat. You see, there's like 1,000 strings on that thing. I don't even really understand how one person can be up there manipulating that. But you see all these strings controlling it, but yet the way they move it and the way it's working, I'm like, that's 3 guys on a boat in the water.
His just feels so much like cartoons come to life. That's what I liked about those so much. Just like, or like creepy like outsider art paintings or something come to life. And I gotta be honest with you, I did really like the lady running on the treadmill until the guillotine cuts her head off. Yeah, because it was like, that was like one of those horrible things I've ever seen.
There's a couple very like out of nowhere, very naked skits in the Henk Boerwinkle episode. The first one is the naked box character, where just a bearded guy is inside of a wooden box with his arms out the side and legs sticking out the front. And all of a sudden, his legs fall off and reveal 2 breasts under the legs. He gets embarrassed. His head spins around to reveal a woman's face. And then 2 stocking, like, covered legs stick out the bottom of the box and stands up. And that's the end.
Yeah, that one's really, really weird.
There's a couple of the Henk Boerwinkle ones, I'm like, Hank's got to work on his endings. Because I'm like, they just kind of end. And sometimes it's, and then they died. Or, and then they looked at the crowd long enough and the light turned off and they said, it's over now, clap.
Is there something else going to happen? I don't know.
But the naked couple on the wheels and swings one is the one you mentioned. And basically, there's a naked older woman walking on a wheel, treadmill kind of thing.
She kind of looks like a Chucky doll. She looks like Chucky all sewed back
looks like
up
Oogie
after it gets
Boogie.
blown up or something. and like Oogie Boogie, but with human flesh and boobs.
Yeah, imagine sexy Oogie Boogie.
That's already the thing that he is.
Oh, right.
You don't think he's sexy?
Sexier Oogie Boogie.
He's sensual, I guess. You can be sensual. He's sensual.
All right.
He's writhing so much.
I want to disagree with you, but I will say he is filled with bugs.
Besides the filled with bugs part.
If you can ignore the filled with bugs part.
Yeah.
But the woman seems to be controlling, with her treadmill, a man on a swing who starts to drop down from the ceiling. And then she starts running on it. And as she does, picks up speed, the man's swing starts to swing faster and faster and faster and faster. And suddenly, he flips, and he dies, and also, her head gets cut off.
Yeah, he's like hanged, and her head is chopped off. And it's like, they are in hell. This is the most evil thing that could befall anyone. But also, they're cute, weird little puppets. And I don't know what it means, but that's Holland, baby.
Speaking of Holland, right after that is when they showed Jim and Henk walking down a trail talking about the darkness in his puppeteering and where it comes from. And they almost get run over by a gang of bikes.
As someone who's been to, is Amsterdam? That's Dutch, right? Die Nederlands? Is that Holland? Is that all the same place?
Yes.
We got to work on the name of that country. They're Dutch people who live in Holland, and it's also called the Netherlands. So,
I think,
and that's even what I am. I'm Dutch, and I don't even fucking know.
You should definitely know more then.
And I've been there, and I still don't know. But being there, you are almost constantly being run over by really angry people on bikes. But you're kind of also like, I appreciate, like, I understand. I deserve to almost be run over in that instance.
Well, that's the thing.
But I do like
it
that
looked
he's
like they were on a bike trail.
Yeah, they shouldn't have been walking
No.
there where they were walking. And I like that Jim's like, do you think there's something about Holland that makes you so dark? And it's like, there's a fucking windmill behind you, bro. It's pastoral.
Is it the tulips that make you crave death puppets?
And he is kind of like, no, I don't think so. I think I'm just a little freak.
Yeah, I don't remember who it is, but he brings up an artist that like is like I'm guessing like a Dutch artist who has like some darker work. And he's like, did that influence you? He's like, not really. I saw his work after I started, so no, I'm good.
I think Henk brings it up too, right?
I don't remember who brought it up first, but
I don't remember either.
It definitely seems
but
like
that is funny where
you
he's
could have
like,
cut that out.
I saw it later. There must have been a more interesting question you asked.
But getting back to naked people, the first performance we see from Philipe Genty is a very cartoonish naked man who seems to be born. We see a lot of like the story of life, of like born, living, and then death kind of tales being told. And I put in my notes at first, I was going to say, is this the first puppet penis we've seen? And then I remembered we just watched Meet the Feebles.
This is a cuter penis, for sure.
This is more cartoonish. This shape of like the whole guy. He's got a really round body. He's got a very like bulged out cartoonish eyes. But yeah, he explodes up from some smoke and is swimming through a dark background, assisted by some watery sound effects. Sound does a lot of work in these. These
and
shows.
Philippe's especially, I think. Yeah.
And we get to see him experience shame for the first time as human faces are revealed around him.
And they say, "Hey, look at that little peen."
They kind of, it seems like they're shaming him for being
peen.
naked because he immediately covers up. And somehow, I'm not remembering exactly how, this ends up with 6 of this weird naked guy's faces sort of stitched together and do a very big Muppety tap dance number.
Yeah, at some point his head falls off and it turns into a fish, and then some other fish come. But you know who he looked like so much that I had a hard time with this one? Mr. Burns when he's the alien. And he's like, I bring you peace.
That is exactly what he looks like.
He looked like that guy. But yeah, the tap dancing, I really liked when he was swimming around. I thought that was cool. But then when it cuts to them in like a big pantyhose, like 3 people in big pantyhose doing a tap dance, then I was like, maybe this is a little bit too much like the Muppets. And there was a bunch of parts where I was like, oh, this guy kind of just saw, it feels like he just saw the Muppets.
There is quite the whiplash in the Philipe Genty one where it goes from the most artsy PBS stuff you can imagine to the most ripped from the Muppet Show performance you've ever seen. And there's always like a little bit of a weirder twist to it that's not very Muppet Show.
Right.
But it is interesting to see some of these things back to back where you're like, that's the same guy, huh? Making these two very, very, very different things. Whereas I feel like the Boerwinkles have a much more cohesive style to their performances. Like they even have the conversations are so different in that Philipe Genty talks about like the poetry of puppetry, and sometimes it doesn't sound like he thought about his answer before he started talking. But Jim's not going to challenge him on that necessarily. But he's asking him about puppetry, and he starts talking about animating a cup against a black background can be poetic. It's just a cup, but it's floating against a black background.
But people want this cup to be alive.
Right.
People want everything to be alive.
The point can be that the audience must realize a person is behind there, but the irrational side of their brains tap into that, but maybe the cup is alive. And I'm like, okay. And all I can think is I want this conversation to flip, and I want Jim to give the same kind of answer about Dr. Teeth. Like, I want Jim to be the subject of a super artsy PBS documentary and be asked the same questions by, like, Philippe and Henk of, like, so where's the dark core behind Bunsen Honeydew?
That would be so good. That would be great. He'd be like, this guy likes to eat things.
I like to see shit blow up.
Yeah. And it is interesting that Jim comes, because Jim is like, at one point, he's like, people always ask me how I got into puppetry. And it's interesting that the answer is, I wanted to be on TV so bad I do literally anything, instead of these people who really do genuinely seem to have thought about it. Well, like, at least why they got into it a lot more than Jim thought about it.
Well, and the thing, too, of, like, talking about, like, the Henk Boerwinkle one, where so many of his sketches just end, and oftentimes with, and the puppet died. That's not that far off from the Muppets. But in the Muppets, it's like, and then they exploded or they got eaten. So it's a little bit more thrilling as opposed to, he passed away slowly after a long life.
The flesh rotted off of his face and he was a giant skull.
Obviously.
The end. But Jim would say, and then the skull exploded.
One of the very Muppety performances from Philippe, there's 3 pointy-nosed, like, bandit puppets.
Chicken bandit
I thought they were chickens for sure, and then I realized, they're wearing masks which cover up part of their face.
Oh,
they're not chickens.
Birds. Okay, I get it.
But they see a silence sign locked up with the chain, and they attempt to saw the chain and crack the lock, which turns out is super easily removed. But when they pick up the sign, the alarm goes off super loud, and this felt like it could have just been in the middle of the Muppet Show.
They're like Muppet Show skits that don't have as clear a punchline. Like they're not quite funny. They're not quite funny in a way that's very French to me, where a French person would be like, yes.
Big Minions energy.
That is how. Oh, Matt, you're right. You're right. And yeah, a French person in the audience would be like, that's right. That is how it is. But everybody else is like, the hell are you talking about?
Well, and that's followed by another very, again, very good puppetry. Another one of these like pointy-faced puppets is in a boat trying to avoid going over Niagara Falls in his boat, but the engine keeps dying. And they sell this illusion so well.
The boat one is fantastic.
Because the
with
boat,
the signs going behind him. And
yeah, the boat and the puppet are in the same space. They're like rocking like he's in a boat. But what sells it is the signs flying by in the background. And you completely buy in that he's on the water being, swept towards a waterfall.
I like that. And then he like turns a crank and drains the river. And then, I thought that was a really good one.
But Jim mentions that Philippe's Metamorphosis is one of his favorite ever puppet performances.
Yep. I was going into it with real high hopes.
Especially after, we've seen the very artsy naked man swimming around thing. And then we see some very Muppet Show-like performances. And then we get led into Jim saying, this next thing you did really knocked me out. One of my favorite things I've ever seen. And I'm like, okay, what's this going to be? Is like really elaborate, really art. What's it? Super Muppets. It's a big balloon.
It's farting also. Don't forget that the balloon's farting.
And laughing at its own farts as it's deflating. Because it's pretentious. Like, it's supposed to, like, I'm not saying Philippe is pretentious. They say, I believe Philippe says,
ball is pretension.
Yes.
It is pretentious art.
And so it's laughing at itself for being pretentious. And as it deflates, then a pile of stuff that looks like the oil from Fern Gully rolls up and starts to eat the balloon.
Yeah.
And then it gets sucked into a cube, which morphs into a garlic bulb-shaped thing and has sex with another garlic bulb-shaped thing.
Jim does similar stuff like this, I feel like, with like, what's the little guys that are like, the little alien guys from a long time ago? They look like coral reef parts.
Oh, like the scrap flap.
Yeah, scrap flap. He does similar abstracted things that are making a point,
right,
but they're not this long. So I can see why he likes this, but I don't know. The farting, it's just funny that he's like, this is my favorite thing ever, and then immediately the camera cuts to a big ball farting.
Well, and the thing after this, again, Whiplash goes back to very Muppet Showy. A guy comes out holding a danger sign that has an X on it, and then an X comes out holding a danger sign that has the guy on it.
I thought that was pretty cute too. But it would be so weird to go to this show. What is it like? Like, I really would love to have sat in the audience of this show and seen if it was like they were splicing between a kid show, like two different shows or something maybe. I don't know. But to just sit there and see it like flip back and forth between, like,
or if you could talk about
puppet.
Yeah, like talk about his, some of this artsier stuff is for me, but I know the mass appeal is maybe more of this cartoonish kind of thing.
Right.
And then we see them practicing a bird ballet, and because I'm a rube, I was like, oh, they're dancing to Hello Mutta, Hello Fada, the novelty song.
I mean, they are.
But then I actually, looked that up because I was like, that can't be the case. I just have to be uneducated.
Is that from Swan Lake or something?
No, it's from the ballet Dance of the Hours from an opera.
Oh, okay.
So it's a real song. It's not just Hello Mutta, Hello Fada.
Yeah, the Alan Sherman classic that I actually know better from the commercial where the puppy's singing about getting fleas. You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about. But yeah, the bird ballet involves laying eggs and more great sound effects and one of the bird's legs taking off on their own. And yeah, they just use the black backdrop so incredibly well throughout both of these, but mostly Philipe works mostly in the bunraku style of hiding the puppeteer with black clothing against a black curtain. And they talk about this in here as well. They use a very thin veil of light that I think we've talked about before with some of the other Muppety things that we've seen, where basically there's like a foot of light shining on the stage that you can work into, and anything in front of that or behind that drops into darkness. And so you have to keep your puppet and everything that's happening in this thin plane.
Yeah, and I do like when the puppet lays eggs, like it very convincingly, the egg pops out of nowhere. And that is the kind of stuff that I thought this would be fun to see more stuff like this on the Muppet Show. For the Muppet Show to have been more of a showcase of puppetry techniques than it turned out to be, I think would have been cool.
Right, because that probably would have been a cut to another shot where suddenly an egg is there. We wouldn't have necessarily just seen it appear in one shot. We also get one from Philipe that I don't necessarily understand what's happening in this one, because there's a man under a sheet. He seems to be dreaming. Wow. And then a weird alien puppet shows up that he's kind of trying to fight off. He sees this as a danger, and so he tries to kill him. But then the alien grows very large, and he has the knife now. And so he's a threat. And then the man wakes up from his dream.
A lot of these I think, this is rude to say, but this was so pretentious. All of this stuff I thought was so pretentious. Even the goofy stuff still felt like there was like a quality to it where he was like, where you could feel Philipe be like, this is just some jack off shit I came up with, you know, like this is stupid. Like what you were saying, it's like, this is stupid for the kids. And you could feel him, in my opinion, saying, here's a stupid one for the kids. Then he'd be like, here's a real thinker for the grown-ups out there. Isn't it crazy when you're dreaming?
Do you feel that way about the next one, which is the reluctant clown marionette?
Who decapitates the guy who's trying to put him in the box?
Yeah.
No, I like that one. I didn't really get I mean, yeah, I like that one. It was horrifying. I think puppet body horror. There's something there for sure.
Yeah, we see there's a clown marionette who just doesn't want to perform. He's not feeling it, and so the puppeteer goes to put him away in the box. And as he puts him away, the clown grabs the puppeteer's glove, which then deflates the puppeteer, who falls down and just ends up being a head on the stage. And so the clown picks up the head and puts his head away in the box, locks him away, and stands on top of it.
Yeah, this is like straight out of Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And this is also one where there's kids in the audience who are eating it up. Mm-hmm. And if I had seen that as a kid, I think I would have been fucked up. Yeah,
that clown just murdered that man. He's coming for me next.
That one didn't feel pretend. I liked his marionette stuff better than I liked all the rest of it.
Okay.
So that didn't feel too pretentious to me.
Well, then I guess how do you feel about a boa and an old-timey camera having some sex? And also eating each other and then turning into birds.
I think the eating was the sex, wasn't it? Because that boa went in there on purpose.
Yeah, there's a lot happening in this one.
And then the boa comes back out, but it's a bird now, and then they sing "Shout," the popular wedding song "Shout."
Yeah.
What did I think of that? I didn't like it. It was boring, and also they were having sex.
Something you notoriously don't like to discuss on this podcast. Speaking of, we get to hear Jim Henson say the word sexual.
That didn't really faze me, but yeah, he did.
It jumped out. In the Boerwinkle episode, he asks them about part of one of their acts where it's showing like a relationship between two characters, and he's like, in part 2, it's the sexual relationship, and I was like, hey, something about it just tripped me up in a weird way.
If Frank had said that, it wouldn't have been weird.
Oh no, he said it all the time.
Frank could have said, what about the one where the boa fucks the camera?
Cut. Frank, what have we told you?
This is for PBS, Frank.
You can't say fuck.
We're already skirting by with all these puppet boobs. You can't say that. He also had that thing that I thought, the Ziegfeld Follies was another show that they showed off, where he's playing various characters that are like different configurations of his hand, basically.
Right. He's got essentially he's got like 10 finger puppets on his hands that are standing up and interacting with each other in various ways.
Yeah. And it looks a lot like European animation. Like, I can't think of any about Twice Upon a Time right now. There's this style, or Strange Planet, is that what it's called? Something Planet. But there's like this style of very strange European animation from around that same period. But that looked interesting, and it had like a storyline and different guys, and I liked like the police that were like his four fingers, and kind of like the creepy hunched up plague doctor looking characters. I thought that looked interesting, maybe a little pretentious also, but I would have rather seen that personally, I think.
They had, I think, like the European animation thing, I think is spot on. They also remind me a little bit of like Jay Ward characters. Of like a fearless leader sort of style in both the way they acted but also the way they looked.
Right, like a Snidely Whiplash kind of dynamic for sure. That's probably why I liked it so much, because I love that shit.
And it felt like there was more writing to that one as well, where there's a scene, it's out of a sitcom or like a Pink Panther style movie, where you can actually feel like, okay, there's some comedy written into this, not just visual humor. But yeah, I think that's about all of Philipe Genty's episode. Again, very just whiplashy. Goes back and forth between super, super artsy, somewhat pretentious, to just, hey, some Muppets kind of holding the sign up or singing a popular song that you know.
I think that's just how French people do it, though, you know? I think that's great. I think there's a lot of like, because you think of like Amélie or something, which is the only French thing I can think of at this moment. But Amélie does have like, it's like a highbrow movie with a lot of like lowbrow humor mixed into it, and a lot of like the cut to like the orgasms, you know, or like the just like very goofy characters mixed with very sad, tragic characters,
like Minions.
I think exactly. I think, Kevin the Minion, the saddest cartoon character of all time. I think that's just how they do it over there. And then being horny for things like fire hydrants. The Minions are horny for fire hydrants, right? I think they are.
I've never seen a Minions movie, Sam.
I haven't either, but I've seen the trailer, and I'm pretty sure they think the fire hydrant is a little yellow minion with huge boobs. And then they're in the jacuzzi with it. I'm pretty sure.
How'd they get it off of there?
I don't know. Maybe the movie will explain. I'll watch it.
Report back on your French findings. And also figure out where Holland is.
I think I know where it is. I'll look it up.
Well, I think Netherlands and Holland are the same thing. I don't know why they're called different things at different times. I will admit that I don't know anything about that. But they're the same
Holland
thing.
is a geographical region as part of the Netherlands. What a revelation. The Netherlands are the country. Holland is part. It's like a state or something in that country.
I don't think what you're saying is true.
I'm looking at it on Wikipedia. Holland is a geographical region and former province on the western coast of the Netherlands.
Oh.
The Netherlands, informally Holland, is a country located. So it's all, they don't know either.
So Holland is part of the Netherlands, but also you can call the Netherlands Holland.
Dutch listeners, please write us and let us know what we're supposed to do here.
Please. We don't know how to talk about your country.
We're not meaning to be rude.
No.
It's just confusing. Oh, I'm looking at the map now of Holland, and it's all of the Netherlands except for like one tiny little piece. So,
however, Holland is a region within the Netherlands that consists of the two provinces of North and South Holland.
Yeah, but if you click on Holland, you will see that North and South Holland are the whole thing. When your country's been around since like the 10th century, I think it's had a lot of names through the years.
Oh, man. We don't know anything, huh?
I genuinely don't know shit. And I'm sorry about that, everybody.
Seems like there's a CGP Grey a video about Holland versus the Netherlands. So I'll watch that later, and I'll know some more.
Learn.
But let's head to Holland, talk a bit more about the Boerwinkles. I'm really trying real hard not to say Bullwinkle now that I mentioned Jay Ward. I was very excited to hear the rad theme song for a second time, and I'm looking forward to hearing that 4 more times, and kind of bummed we don't get to hear it 20 more times.
Is it your favorite part of the show?
No, but it starts off on a high note. Like, I think, I'm like, hell yeah, here we go. Whereas, like, I don't mind the Muppet Babies theme song so much, but it doesn't get me jazzed about what I'm about to watch.
Right. It just so perfectly encapsulates that infotainment kind of thing of that era.
Mm-hmm. Like, always peaking synthesizer music. You're just like,
yeah.
And you're just like, okay. That's the only setting you had back then was on.
Yeah.
You had no volume control.
It makes you feel like you're at Epcot Center in the early 90s or something.
Precisely. That is the feeling.
That you're standing in line to get on the
Spaceship Earth.
Planet Earth or whatever the hell it's called. That's the one. The Land is what I was thinking of.
Different ride.
Yeah, but still. The exciting ride where you get to go through hydroponic farms.
Jim welcomes us again in this episode and talks about the astonishing range of styles of puppetry. And Henk and Ans do haunting, dreamlike, almost hypnotic puppetry. And it shows off their little theater in their attic at home, which has like 40 people just hanging out at their house.
That looked so fun. I loved how the intimacy of that, I thought really appealed to me.
Yeah, the closest thing I've been to like this was I went to a show in Chicago once to see AJJ play an attic show that was like full of as many people you can fit in an attic. But it was one of those...
Attic shows sound scary.
Yeah.
When you're dancing.
Well, I was not dancing. It was all sitting.
Oh, okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, good.
This is a sitting acoustic show. But it was the closest I have felt to this where I was like, oh yeah, that was a weird thing that just, they were like, it was a guy's house. It was his attic. It wasn't a special venue space. I just imagine people coming up to their door on a daily basis being like, hey, you guys having a puppet show tonight? No, okay, I'll come back tomorrow.
I think they would say, of course, we're always having a puppet show. There's one going on right now. And then you'd say, well, how are you down here and up there doing the puppet show? And then he'd vanish.
I've been a puppet this whole time.
Yeah, he's like raised up on his strings.
Well, the first performance in this one is a terrifying puppet with a 2-human face, a little goblin fella. And we get to see Henk Boerwinkle we talked about sound effects earlier. He's doing the whistling for this one, the creepy like theremin music live. He's just whistling along to make it creepier.
Yeah, that was neat. And that was just a sad guy being sad, kind of moping around.
That's all I remember.
He was just like, okay, whatever. Took a few steps, and then everybody in the audience is like, yeah, we love the sad troll.
Well, especially, it's weird to open this episode with a few that, like, these don't really they don't mean anything. You have a weird goblin guy just standing there getting applause. You have a bird stealing a baby, and then you get a scarecrow where a bird's walking around the scarecrow, jumps off, walks away, and then the scarecrow transforms, flips over into big old ugly bird.
Yeah, I think this was the worst one. Doesn't mean anything. And it's not even, a lot of the later ones are like, that was magic. This one is just like the puppet flipped around.
Right. I think it sets you up for, to expect some cool tricks, but it is not the coolest trick by far. We learn that Henk and Ans have been working together as long as they've been married, which is 21 years. And yeah, I don't know if there's a language barrier or if it's just some slight misogyny coming from Jim, but the questions aren't directed towards Ans. And when Ans does answer, they just kind of don't respond to her and they move on as if she didn't just answer a question. But I think there is also some bit of a language barrier because there are a couple of times where Jim will ask a question and the way Henk or Ans answers it isn't necessarily like a one-to-one of like, why did you do this? Oh, we did this because. It's sort of like, okay, well, I think what you asked was this, so I'm going to answer this way.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. She does look, she's just sitting there like looking so bored or looking
she's
like.
She's always in frame. She's always there.
And it seems like she does, like she's the hand puppeteer, he's the marionette. So she's like legit one half of this. And
they also say she does the lights and sound effects.
Yeah.
So she's doing a lot while she's down there.
Yeah. I wish they had talked to her more. And it was also like kind of a parallel to Jim in that they look alike, but also it's like there's a lady who helped you be so successful who maybe doesn't get all of the props she deserves.
Right. When you look at the early, Sam and Friends stuff, Jane was just as involved as Jim was on so much of that. But Jane Henson very rarely gets brought up in those same discussions.
I mean, she kept Sam and Friends going while he went to England, or while he went to Europe, and probably would have just been like, I'm not going to do it anymore. If he hadn't come back and it was still going, who knows?
Yeah. No, she's the unsung hero of the Muppets is Jane Henson.
Yeah. And Ans also could be the unsung hero, but maybe in the Netherlands, everybody's like, oh,
like, yeah, Ans.
Yeah.
I do like that she says that she doesn't do the marionettes because she's not as tall. Like Hank needs to be tall and reach over the thing. I'm not tall enough, so.
Yeah. I'll just be down here on the floor, I guess.
And then we see our old friend, the old witch puppet that we saw in Here Comes the Puppets. In this one, Hank is performing the witch and Ans is a cat. And for a while, they just make a bunch of noises at each other. But then the witch starts to do a banshee howl and just... At first, you have no idea what's happening. There's just a very weird noise coming out of this witch lady until she suddenly turns into a dog.
Melts into a dog. Her head is a dog.
Her head's been a dog this whole time. But the cloak is pulled off and very quickly she transforms into a dog. And this one is much more effective than the scarecrow turning into a bird.
Yeah, this is cool.
It's also immediately followed up by the cat turning into a human woman who puts a leash on the dog.
Yeah, what the fuck?
It happens so fast.
It's scary.
And we even get to see the behind the scenes of it. And I'm like, still very impressive. You didn't ruin the magic for me.
Yeah, I think this is when it turned around for me. And I started to be like, all right, this is some good shit.
As in the performance or the show in general?
The Henk Boerwinkle's whole thing. Because, before that, it's just like the Scarecrow one, I was really like, what the hell is this? But then once the magic started happening. Well,
it reminded me, too, a bit of when we got to see the Muppets on Puppets, where they showed us the behind the scenes of some of the old special effects they used to have to do with like fire extinguishers and all this stuff to pull off the explosions on the Muppets when it was just like Jim, Frank, and Don Saline and Jerry Jewell usually too, like behind a wall trying to make all this stuff happen in real time, because that's when they used to be on the Ed Sullivan Show and the Tonight Show, and they did have to do all of their tricks in one take.
Yeah. I also think this one's just shot better, I think, than the Philipe one. And it shows more different perspectives, like the up, so you can see him like working the marionette, out in the crowd so you can see what they're seeing. It just was like more interesting compositions, I thought.
Yeah, the only time you really see Philipe in his is when you're sort of supposed to see the puppeteer, like when he becomes a character interacting with the marionettes. In the most, Henk Boerwinkle is just the Dutch Jim Henson kind of moments. He gets real nerdy about, I made a puppet that comes in from the side.
Yeah.
Most puppets, they come in from the bottom. Marionettes, they come in from the top. I made a side puppet, guys.
There's other sides too, everybody, and I am the first one to realize that.
I've tapped in to the potential of side puppets.
Is that the puppet who's unwinding the?
Yeah, which definitely looks like it's coming from above.
That's what I was thinking too. I was really confused.
It looks like just a puppet upside down from the ceiling, which is fine. It's all works. It's all very effective. But when you're like, I made groundbreaking technology, puppets from the side, and it's like, well, he's just got kind of a curve to him.
Yeah, this is the most from the top puppet I've ever seen.
But yeah, it's an interesting puppet who's got like a bandage wrapped around his face, and he's got a big stick that he's holding down above a human head that we see, who has bandages around its head, and he uses his stick to unwrap the bandages around the head, revealing a brain just hanging out. And then he just stabs his stick down into the brain, roots around in there for a minute, and pulls the brain out of the skull.
And there's a little guy in there.
And there's a little guy in there who pops out to fight him off and tries to get the brain back.
And then a bunch of tendrils grow out of the guy's head, and that's the end.
Yes, the ending. I think 90% of this, very effective and good. The last 10%, I'm like, so now he's a planter? I'm not really sure what happened.
That seems fine, I guess.
There.
Yeah.
Because, the brainstem comes out of the brain, it detaches, and that guy wins, I guess. The little dude goes back into the head, and then a bunch of finger-like things grow out of the head, and the eyes open.
But I was picturing myself in the audience this whole time, and I think if I saw that, I'd be like, that was fucking cool.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't know what it meant.
Oh, all of this stuff gets the fucking cool rating, I think. It all is up there because, again, so much of it, the puppetry is so impressive that the subtle movements, especially in the Boerwinkles, they're like so subtle. And like I think when you said cartoon brought to life, I think is exactly right, because even when you see him standing behind the table controlling these two guys who are doing a tug of war, the moment they start moving and doing a tug of war, I'm like, those are alive.
That one was so, like, the ending of that one wasn't very good either, but that one was so good. Like, there's just something so believable about that. It looked like a Sesame Street cartoon that was real.
We learned that the heads, the way they're made by the Boerwinkles, they're just made from dry paper and some glue. And I didn't quite understand the process, but when he's showing us, he just takes a piece of paper, sticks the whole thing in his mouth, pulls it out, and sticks it onto a head.
That's horrifying. Like if you do all Kermit puppets were constructed via spit, I think that would give it a different spin.
It's 60% Jim's DNA inside that Kermit.
This puppet stinks.
We could clone.
It stinks so bad.
We could clone Henk Boerwinkle off of his old puppets
easily.
But I'm wondering if this is like, sort of like envelope or stamp technology, like whatever paper he's using, because he talks about like there's a glue, and so he like wets it and sticks it. He specifically mentions it's not paper mache. He uses dry paper. He's not like making this mush and forming it, but he is licking it and sticking it, as they say in the puppet world.
So it's not strictly dry.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some wetness introduced.
It's spitted upon.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just stuck on with spit.
He says the word glue, though, at some point.
Maybe he means spit. Maybe they call spit glue.
The Dutch word for spit is glue.
Sponge? He should use a sponge. He's probably got to drink so much water in the course of his... Did he build that whole huge baby head with 2 legs with spit?
Maybe he's very well hydrated.
It could be. Well, you know what? When I went to the Netherlands, you cannot get a glass of water there. I mean, you have to ask. Like, that's most places. They made fun of us for drinking out of water bottles, and we went to dinner with this guy, and he said that he doesn't have to drink water because he eats enough soup, and his doctor told him that was fine. So I don't think anyone over there is hydrated.
So maybe Henk Boerwinkle just ate all the soup.
He's just drinking a bunch of chowder and then licking licking the puppets.
He's not licking the puppets.
Mm.
He's licking the paper that then becomes puppet.
Yeah, all the puppets are full of his spit, though.
That part is true. I'm just saying there's a difference.
You're right.
He's not sitting there like a cat, like lap, 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 like sealing in the face of the weird goblin.
Right. Yeah, okay, fair enough. You're right.
That'd be like, we watched, Henson's Place documentary of them like making puppets, and like you see Bonnie Erickson sewing together a puppet in the background. Imagine like turn the camera over here and Henk Boerwinkle's just licking the face of a puppet. Be like, this is my process.
Don't look at me while I do this.
But I do like the discussion of puppet making and the fact that they actually get into that. We have no idea how Philipe Genty was making his stuff.
That bothered me that we didn't ever hear about that from Philipe Genty, that it seemed so secondary. But I loved him talking about how making the puppets is a full 50% of the part of like the thing he likes about puppets.
You do some puppet work on SciShow Kids. Mm-hmm. You are a bat. What part of that process to you is the most enjoyable? Is it the actual like on-set puppeteering? Is it like the idea of creating a character who then becomes a puppet?
I really should learn how to sew because I do like that part of fabricating it. I love designing the puppets, and I think my favorite part is performing them. I think that's so fun. Especially like the bat is now a live hand puppet, which is way funner than it was when it was just a stick. So that's my favorite part, but Rachel makes the puppets, so I can't really speak to that. But I do love designing them and then like working with her to make it look like the drawing that I did. We don't use spit. We use more traditional methods.
She's your Don Celine.
She's my Don Celine for sure. She doesn't like it though. She says, I'm never doing this again. So they can't break or else we don't have puppets anymore.
Well, then we move on from puppets to the world of masks and costumes with the Boerwinkles. And we get a 3-part story here of a weird big-headed baby. We get a large sort of witch-like figure standing over a small big-headed baby.
It's Mother Earth, Matt.
Is it?
That's what he says.
Okay. Well, Mother Earth is protecting the big-headed baby from a cannon because this is about boys having to go into military service. And this is the part where we hear Jim say the word sexual, which I felt weird about.
Well, he's right. The big booby Cyclops does stroke that tongue in a sensual way.
The jump scare cut that happens here, I was not prepared for.
Yeah.
Because we go from big-headed baby being protected from the cannon by Mother Earth. Cool. Cut back to Jim.
Jim says it's sexy as fuck.
Yeah, he's like, so part 2 is about a sexual relationship. And like Henk confirms and is like, yes, it's about the relationship between 2 characters. Ans plays the one-eyed character. And you're like, okay, cool. What's this going to be? Jump scare to Mr. Potato Head and a topless Cyclops.
A nude Cyclops. And they're having sex, I guess. She's touching his tongue as if it were his penis.
She
basically
yanks out his tongue.
And then yanks it out.
Replaces it with a tangled up tongue cigar. And now he can't speak anymore.
But he does have a cigar, which Henk thinks is pretty fun, I guess.
Well, because he says in his head, old men have cigars.
Yeah, my grandpa always had a cigar and didn't talk much, so that's what that is.
Yeah, and this was the moment where I was like, I love that this was sold on VHS for educational purposes and that a school might have shown this to kids being like, we got a new Jim Henson tape we're dropping on you today, folks. Get ready for some Jim Henson, some puppets. I'm sure it'll be fun and educational.
It is a good insight into the artistic process, which sometimes is just like, I don't know. It's cool.
But Henk says that this old aging man puppet is lonely, but perhaps satisfied. And it seemed like he was trying to say something about like wives not letting their husbands speak with the yanking out the tongue thing.
Yeah.
And that like this man is not happy to be married, but he's, I guess, sexually satisfied.
Whatever. Yeah, I suppose so.
But then part 3, we got an old big-headed guy. He's still got the
in
cigar.
A wheelchair. Mr. Potato Head in a big wheelchair.
Yeah, if you ever watched Doctor Who, big face of Bo energy coming off of this puppet.
Yeah.
But how do we know this old man is dying? Because his cigar falls out of his mouth. Mm-hmm. That's how you know an old man has died. And so the same figure from before, Mother Earth, buries big-headed old man.
And his head, somehow, I can't remember how, is replaced by a giant skull, which kicks ass.
Well, and it's another visual, like, in-camera thing where, like, sets it down, and they talk about, like, the soul going to heaven or something like that. And, like,
oh, right.
Then all of a sudden it just, like, there's a skull that was, like, behind the big head the whole time.
Yeah.
Which I guess is true of all of us.
That's absolutely right, Matt. Our souls go to heaven and we leave a big skull behind.
I was saying more that there's big skulls behind our big heads all the time, but sure.
Oh, that's true. There is no indication of how long this lasts. So in my head, I was like, this is 4 to 5 hours long. It's got to be. It's either 4 to 5 hours long or like 30 seconds long.
Right.
And we see all of it.
Because they keep cutting back to Jim and them talking about the different parts.
Yeah.
And so you don't know if the show kept going on during that, if there was an hour that we didn't get to see of part 2, or if part 2 was just what we saw.
Just a little part. There's no way to ever know.
And then another bizarre twist. This Boerwinkle one is just all over the place. They're talking a bit more about the characters that Henk creates, and he explains that he worked at a psychiatric hospital.
Yeah. Instead of going into military service, which it seems like everybody in the Netherlands... Every man in the Netherlands has to do military service, I guess, at the time, at least.
At least the time, that's what he is talking about, which is what the previous, the one about the boy, the big head boy, who gets protected by Mother Earth in the canon.
But he didn't, and he went to work in a psychiatric hospital.
Right. It seemed like it was maybe an option of like, okay, well, if you don't go to the military, you have to contribute in some way.
Yeah, peacenik puppeteer hippie.
It seems like nowadays... Netherlands does have mandatory military service, however, it is not enforced, which doesn't seem like the word mandatory should be used there. It seems like it's maybe more like us through the selective service thing, where it's like when you turn 18, you have to sign up for the draft that doesn't exist.
Right. The draft that if it ever did try to exist again, I feel like we would say, no.
Yeah, no, thank you.
I don't think we're going to do that.
But yeah, seems like the last time they made people was in the mid-90s, so.
Okay. But yeah, I thought this was really interesting that I would love to know why he didn't do that. I feel like it is probably because he had like objections to military service.
Right. And we don't get a lot into the details, and maybe it would be more troubling if we did, of sort of how working at the psychiatric hospital was his inspiration for what we see next. Because we see a couple of masks he's made, and one of them is like a cyclops taking out its eyeball, putting it into a box that becomes a camera, and then he takes a picture of the audience.
I love that. I thought that was great.
Oh, I thought it was great, but I'm just like, how did that work at the psychiatric hospital inspire this?
I feel like his whole thing was just like he thinks about the way the human mind dissects emotion or something. Like he's thinking about, and then he also thinking about like the ways that different people's brains work differently, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll give you that. And then I feel like that's a great note to go out on for the episode there, but it doesn't end there, which is kind of strange. Instead, we cut to, he's got puppets again, and he's got 2 cute little strongmen puppets, one on each hand.
Aforementioned tug of war guys.
Mm-hmm. And this is very good, very convincing. But then a dog comes in out of nowhere and starts pulling on their tug of war rope. And then the two men have to work together to try and fight off the dog.
But it really is like 25 seconds long, and the dog just pulls them off. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no deep meaning to this one. There's not anything about war and mandatory military service or anything.
Yeah, like maybe I would have gone out on the giant head turning into a skull. Perhaps. That would have been the last one I did.
Yeah.
And not the very short, weird, but very good. Like the puppetry on that one is so great. But it is kind of like, why did you show us that at the end?
Yeah, I just feel like the Cyclops taking a picture of the audience feels like the best note to be like,
that's true.
I'd turn this
It's a good
around
full
on
circle.
you.
Exactly. You're right, Matt.
I was worried that watching these would make me go, oh no, Sam, we have 4 more of these to watch.
Yeah, I think it's okay because they're so fucking weird. And it's fun to see what other people are doing. And it's also fun. It's like fun to see what other people are doing and also kind of be like, in some respects, you're like, well, Jim really did like change the game. Like, Fraggle Rock is so approachable and so like convincing, but then in other ways it's kind of like this is the corporate version of puppet shows or something. Like these are punk puppet shows.
Oh, you're saying that like Philipe Genty and the anti-establishment
the Boerwinkles.
puppet shows.
Yeah,
they like
yeah. There's something about puppet makers that just like they're such nasty little guys for some reason. They're so obsessed with death and making their puppets look weird and nasty.
Yeah, they might look at Jim as like, oh man, you sold out. You used to be cool.
I always wonder about that. Yeah, if people talk about him behind his back or something.
Like, man, remember you're the guy who made Scrap Flap. Remember Scrap Flap? We love that shit. And then you made some little elves for Ed Sullivan, and you never looked back.
It really went downhill from there. Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting whenever I see like. Because of this podcast, the things I see pop up online oftentimes are other puppeteers and other puppet makers, all who are clearly inspired by the more Jim Henson school of puppetry. Like everything looks a little bit like a Muppet, even if there is like an original style to it. I don't come across a lot of truly wild, out there puppeteering like some of this stuff. So it is nice to get a little glimpse into the different stuff that's out there, especially stuff that was happening at the same time as Jim Henson was like, peak Muppets. And
I always love when he shines a spotlight on stuff like this. Like, I wish he could find a way to work it into his primary work more. And I wish we could hear him talk more because I love hearing him talk about the dumb, boring shit.
But since we haven't, seen any Muppets this week, that also means there is no Muppet of the Week.
The big head baby who died.
So that means, Sam, it is time for me to ask, what non-Muppet things did you get to enjoy this week?
I barely did anything.
Nothing?
I don't know.
No fun at all?
I played a little bit of Baldur's Gate 3.
Ooh.
And that's one of those games that's going to take me too long to play.
Yeah, that's one of those games I'm going to appreciate from a distance. Like Elden Ring, where I'm like, you guys have fun. Everyone talks about how great it is. I know it's not for me.
I still got to beat that one. Those games are for me. I just don't have time.
Yeah.
I got to retire and play all these games. But Baldur's Gate is like based on it's like the rule set of D&D. It's set in D&D world. It made me want to play D&D so bad that I was kind of like, I can't play this. It'll make me too sad. But it's fun. Otherwise, I don't know. We watched this show. Have you ever heard of the show OA? The OA on Netflix?
That sounds familiar.
This lady, Britt Marling, and she made this show called OA, where it's kind of about like interdimensional travel mixed with like unreliable narrator. Like,
is this the one that got canceled and everyone was super pissed?
Yeah, it's the one that got canceled and everyone was super pissed. So she's got a new show on FX called Murder at the End of the World, and it's kind of like we've only watched the first 2 episodes. It's a mystery. It's this lady who's like a hacker, true crime novelist, and she is kind of like not past her prime, but she like broke her big case and has kind of been living like in a weird limbo ever since then. And then she goes out to, but she's also a famous novelist, so she goes out to this like summit that an Elon Musk kind of guy is putting on. It's very similar to Glass Onion, but it's not goofy.
Yeah.
And then somebody gets murdered at that summit, and they all are trying to like convince her it didn't happen or it doesn't matter that it happened. And she's kind of like, oh, what the hell's going on here? And she's like hacking into stuff and like being sneaky to figure out what the hell happened. But it's by the same Britt Marling and her writing partner, whose name I can't remember right now. So Rachel loves the OA, and we watched that. It was really good. I like the OA too. It's good, but I like this better, I think. But it's the kind of show where people who like the OA are like, you better watch this, because if enough people like it, then she'll get to make the next season of the OA.
Right.
Which is wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Would be. Or even like, maybe this ties in somehow.
Ooh.
And there are little things. There's like some characters wear like the same costume, like outfits as characters in the OA. And there's like little things where it's like, maybe this does tie in somehow. But yeah, Murder at the End of the World is good.
It's good to see Clive Owen doing stuff.
Yeah, he's good. He's the Elon Musk kind of
I feel
guy.
like I haven't seen that guy in forever.
How about you?
Well, I stayed up super late last night watching the Las Vegas Grand Prix.
Oh yeah, how'd that go?
Really good. Surprisingly, there was a lot of hiccups in the management of it, and they fucked up a lot of like how they handled dealing with the city and the residents of Las Vegas. But the race
that doesn't sound really good.
Well, the race itself was really entertaining.
Oh, okay.
So the time of the actual racing was very entertaining.
Good.
Like many people were saying, like the best race of the year. So very good. But it didn't end until like 1:30.
Oh, okay.
Because they decided, let's
bad.
race at midnight in Vegas. But other than that, been watching the new season of For All Mankind, which is still very good. And I haven't played it yet, but I did purchase, and I'm very excited for my afternoon to involve playing some Teardown on the PS5.
What's that?
It's a game that kind of looks like Minecraft, like it's made in the same little pixely art style. But it's basically a physics simulation game where it's like a puzzle game where you have to try and like, get this thing to there, but you can destroy everything in the setting in like realistic ways.
So you're like planning demolitions to solve puzzles?
Right. Like you're like, okay, I need to get this silo onto that semi truck. So I have to like blow up the leg of the silo thing so it'll fall perfectly off the side of the house and then roll onto the truck kind of thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's all,
the
whole thing about it is that the physics simulations are very, very good. So it feels as realistic as possible, which is like why they went with the Minecraft-y art style. So they can actually make it work as a video game.
Wow, that looks fun. That looks like my kind of thing.
It's been on PC for a long time, for a few years, and I've always wanted to play it, but I don't really do PC games. And so the fact that it got announced for the PS5, I was like, yes, please. Well, before we go, we want to let you know what we'll be watching next time. Next time, we will be watching something that we've both been looking forward to since I think the beginning of this podcast.
Yeah.
We have finally reached the summer of 1985, which means it is time to watch the 1985 feature film, Follow That Bird. But that's not all, because there are a couple other Muppet TV appearances from that summer, including Kermit appearing on Reading Rainbow, and Big Bird appearing on the CBC show Midday to promote his upcoming movie.
Great. I love it. I love a Kermit episode where we watch a bunch of different weird stuff.
It's like, Sam, I don't know. A bunch of shit happened. We have to watch it all. That's what we agreed to do. Here you go. Here's the list.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, yeah, we'll be back next time to discuss Follow That Bird, which neither of us have ever seen. And it's free on YouTube right now, their whole movies thing. It used to be on HBO Max. Not anymore. But it is also viewable for free on the Roku channel if you have that available to you. So there's free places to watch it. But we need to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Don't forget to go to commitment.com or commitmentstuff.com if you want to pick up some cool merch. We've got our Keep Believing, Keep Pretending shirt. We've got the I Bit Rolf's Nose shirt, our sticker pack, an enamel pin. We got a bunch of stuff over there at commitmentstuff.com. You can also email us at mail@commitment.com if you have any questions or just want to chat about Muppets. You can also follow this podcast on social media at CommitmentPod. And you can follow me at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.